Introduced from the Exploratorium, Marina. Please give her a big round of applause.
I don't have the personality to have a late night television show, but I am thrilled to be here, and I would like to thank our friends at the Maker Faire for helping the Exploratorium to bring not only Theo Jansen here to you today, but also one of his beasts. I'm not sure if any of you have had the chance to visit the Exploratorium booth, but it's conveniently located just outside that door, and one of Jansen's vortices is here. Okay, there's Theo. So Maker Faire and the Exploratorium love a few things in common that I think all of you love too. Imagination, creativity, invention, and learning. And it would be hard to find anyone who embodies that spirit as much as Theo Jansen. The Exploratorium has the incredible privilege of being able to present an exhibition of his work. It's called Strandbeest, the Dream Machines of Theo Jansen, and it was developed by our friends at the Peabody Essex Museum. Some of them are here today, which is based in Salem, Massachusetts. So opening next weekend, running Memorial Day through Labor Day weekend, it will be your chance to be able to see some of his incredible kinetic sculptures at the Exploratorium. What else did I want to tell you? The exhibition is designed really to bring you into Theo Jansen's dream, which originally started as the idea to shore up the sinking sinking shorelines of Holland with these kinetic creatures that would build up dune over time, and then slowly evolved into the idea of creating a herd of animals that would live on their own. So Theo's interest shifted more towards adaptation and evolution and even existence itself. The exhibition includes beautiful black and white photography by Lena Herzog, who spent more than 7 years photographing the Strandbeest on the beach of Scheveningen in the district of The Hague of Holland, as well as beautiful films. And you'll be able to see 5 of the beasts of some of his most recent beasts, which he calls the from the Cerebrum epic. Again, this has been a 25-year project of developing these amazing creatures. Throughout the summer, the Exploratorium will present to you activities where you can actually try to make beasts on your own. There's amazing film programs, and this will all lead up to a very special event on July 7th, BYO based. So bringing your own beasts, Adam Savage will be there for 3 days to do a workshop himself of making a bicycle-powered Strandbeest-inspired creation. Theo studied for 7 years at the University of Delft, so his background is in physics, but then he found that the more twisty, curvy turns of an artistic path were his calling, and we're very happy for that. Strandbeest have been shown around the world. Theo authored a very beautiful book on his own process called The Great Pretender. And Lena Herzog's photographs are captured in a beautiful book by Tash, and beautiful coffee table book that's also available as iBook that has the same title as the exhibition. There's also been recently a documentary created called A Boy's Dream, and in our exhibition we'll show Strandbeesten by German filmmaker Alexander Schlichter. I think Theo's beasts are imbued with an incredible human spirit, And I can't help but think that comes from Theo's own kind and generous and wonderful spirit as a person, which you'll get to enjoy right now. Welcome, Theo Jansen.
Like Marina just told you, I studied physics a long time ago. So first I was born at almost on the beach of Scheveningen, where I still, I came back. I studied physics 15 kilometers inland. So I immigrated all the way to Delft, which is far away from the coast, only 50 kilometers. For me, it was a sort of flight away in the world. I was not a very good student, I must say. So after 7 years, I gave up. And I became a painter. And I painted for a few years, not too bad. And then came a moment that I wanted to make a flying saucer, which could really fly. And I launched this flying saucer over my town, Delft, where I was studying. And because of the weather was a bit hazy and the flying saucer was black, there's a lot of contrast, so you don't see any depth in there. So it traveled through the sky. People just saw a disc traveling through the sky, and you couldn't estimate how high it was. And obviously the police thought it was very high, because then it becomes very big and it goes very fast. So that was a lot of commotion in the streets with police cars driving around, it was on television. So that made me famous for a few months in my country. And after that, I was not able to paint anymore. I tasted a larger audience, and so I made a sort of painting machine in the 80s, and maybe if we have time I can still show a video about that. And in the beginning of the 90s, Marina mentioned that I would like to build up dunes in front of the coast by making sort of skeletons, which you may have seen on YouTube. Now, it all started when I was about 11 years old. And I had a hobby. And this kind of tube we use in Holland for cables in houses. So there's a lot of it, and it's very cheap. And imagine there's an open window over there. So people would find all these paper darts on their bed, in the bedrooms. To get in the mood for Strandbeest, I would like to show just a short video of 3 minutes, which brings you through all the generations of the last 25 years. Could you start the Mahler 3? It's some music of Gustav Mahler. Some people think it's a bit sad, but I like it. There it is. here a beast is anchoring itself for a coming storm. So I want these animals to survive the storms and the sand on the beach, so they can live one day on their own. Now I would like to explain the leg system of the beast. We put this table on here, and I'm not too happy anymore because I would like to show you as well. Can we take it down again? I'm sorry, because I didn't know there was a table on stage. Oh. Yes. Take it off. That's good. Because I used to be a teacher and I want all the pupils, all the students to know what I'm talking about. So this is a model of the leg system. So you see that in the middle of a beach animal, there's a spine, you could say, which makes a circular movement. And this circular movement is transformed to a walking movement written by the pencil. Now, as you may see, is that as soon as the pencil is on the ground, it draws more or less a straight line. And that means that the animal stays on the same level. Because that's the special way the Strandbeest walk. They don't toss up and down like we do, but they stay on the same level. And that's because of the shape of this curve. Now, the shape of this curve written by the pencil is very much depending on the length of the tubes between the spine and the pencil. If you have another combination of length, then you get a totally different kind of curve. Now, when I started this, I didn't know which proportion of length I needed to get this curve. That's why I wrote a computer program in an Atari computer to generate the curve with a given proportion of length. Now, there are so many possibilities because there are 13 lengths of tubes which can change. And if the Atari would let pass all the possibilities, it would be on for 100,000 years. That's why I had to choose for a method which gives a quick result. And that is the method of evolution. You don't get the most optimal result, but you come there fast. And that worked in a way that were born 1,500 of these legs in the Atari computer, and they were all slightly different. They all had different proportion of length. So you get 1,500 curves, which are all totally different. So the pencil makes 1,500 different curves. None of these curves is this curve, these you see here. The chance is very small. But some of these 1,500 legs or curves are a bit similar. And those are selected by the computer. And the rest of the legs die, and the selection gets the privilege to multiply. And that means their tubes are copied and reassembled to 1,500 new combinations. You could see this as the children of the selection. Now this process went on for months, day and night, selection, reproduce, and in the end, there came 30 numbers out of the computer. And those 30 numbers I could use to make the lengths of the tubes, and it turned out to work out that way, that indeed the Strandbeest, it didn't toss up and down, it stayed on the same level, using not too much energy to move forward. Now, you could see this 3D, so this combination of numbers as the DNA code of the Strandbeests. It's the big secret, you could say. And I published this secret on my website already a long time ago. And since then, thousands of students in the whole world are using this code to build Strandbeests. And all these students, they have the idea that they're having a good time and they have a nice hobby, but the fact is they're used for the reproduction. Strandbeest. So they are infected with the DNA codes, and they just want to make Strandbeests. So they are victims of, just like myself. I'm the worst victim, you would say. And so I cannot do anything else but making Strandbeests. So it's the case with the students. Now, they order in this kind of tube from Japan, in Holland, to build real-size Strandbeests in Japan. And this reproduction came to an acceleration since 2 years ago. No, it was 5 years ago. And there were 2 students who came to my studio and brought a box. In the box was something I would like to show you. First I have to repair it a little bit, sorry. I hope this works. Oh my God. Oh. Are you okay over there? Only 1 minute. This said that this animal was not assembled, but it was born. And it turned out to be born in a 3D printer. Let me see if this works. It looks only, it doesn't like to walk on. I put it on the table so you can see it here. And it turned out to be born in a 3D printer. And I knew about 3D printers, but I didn't know you could make moving parts with that. So, and it works in a way that a thin nylon powder layer is spread out over a plane, and then a laser melts some parts together, and again, a thin nylon powder layer goes over it, layer by layer, and it ends up with a box full of nylon powder. And the beast is in there. You just have to blow the nylon powder off, and then it walks over the table. So it's not assembled, it's printed in one piece. And I think you Americans call it flabbergasted. Because I hope you realize what kind of epoch we are born, that after 4.5 billion years, that we don't reproduce anymore in protein and in DNA codes, but in nylon powder and zeros and ones as DNA codes. Because you can put these zeros and ones on the internet, and you can print out these animals anywhere in the world. And that's what's happening right now, because what you saw on the table here is a mutation. It's a mutation made by a guy in Amsterdam, his name is Ad Lagerfeld, and he uses another DNA code than my beasts. And I must say, it walks quite well. It might have more descendants on the internet than my animals. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, there's an evolution going on the internet which is totally out of control. And that's what I call life. So there are many students infected, and they come to the museum on July 7, I think, here, to bring their own beasts. And you can see how the Strandbeests are really able to reproduce. Now, I would like to show you something about the neural system of the beasts. So, is there any volunteer coming forward holding this? Yes, you. So everybody can see it? Yeah, great. Hey. Thank you very much, well done. So here's an O-ring at the end. And if you put this in a tube, you have a pump, just like a bicycle pump. Now these kind of pumps are connected to the wings, so the wings go up and down in the wind, and they move the pump up and down. And these pumps, they pump up air into soda bottles. They press the wind into the soda bottles, you could say, and that spare energy the animals need in case that the wind falls away on the beach. This is a survival tool, you could say, for wind silences, but also in emergency cases. Because if you connect a bottle with a pump, this jumps out, and this you could see as a mussel. A mussel is nothing but an object which becomes longer or shorter on command, and the valve which opens, you could say, gives the mussel the command to stretch. And mussels turn out to be very handy if you want to survive on beaches. So, since the mussel, you have also the valve which you could see as a nerve cell. So you have nerve cells, muscles, without knowing it. In fact, I was walking the same road as happened in the real evolution. You have muscles, then you have nerve cells, and if you have a lot of nerve cells, you have a sort of brain. I would like to explain the nerve cell to you. This is a nerve cell. And I take it apart a little bit so to explain the anatomy of it. So if I blow air in here, the air runs through these tubes and comes out of this tube. Goes in here, comes out of there. Comes in here, goes out of there. But if I push in this piston here, then the airflow is blocked. So this is nothing but a valve. So it's open, close. This valve is controlled by a sort of muscle. If I blow up here, everybody must see it. If I blow air in here, you see that the piston goes up and it closes this valve here. So when air goes in here, no air comes out of here, but it's blocked. So if you see this is the input and this is the output, then the output is opposite from the input. Now, I realize as soon as you start using words like output and input, then a lot of people are gone. So I would like to make it very clear to you. So if you see this as a person, so this is a person, this is the mouth, the output, and this is the ear, the input, this is the mouth, the output, and this is the ear, the input. The output is opposite from it, so the mouth says the opposite from what it hears. So if there is air coming in the ear, the mouth says, no, there is no air. So that's why I call this a liar. Now, instead of a nerve cell, I call this a liar. So everybody who works at the exhibition in the exploratorium, and they are going to reanimate extinct animals over there, so every 2 hours, I think. And there are liars in that beast, and they don't talk about nerve cells, they talk about liars. Now, imagine that, let me see, that you are a liar, okay? And you are a liar, and I say to you, yes. You hear yes, you are a liar, what would you say to him?
What would I say you said?
And you hear yes is coming into your ear, no. And he says no. You hear no, yes. And I hear yes, and I say no. Now, in this conversation of 3 liars, I changed my opinion. And that's what you have is an uneven number of liars that you keep changing your opinion. With 2 liars, you keep saying the same thing, but with 3 liars, you have a so-called dynamic system. I have 3 liars here. So, this is you, this is you, and this is me, and we are connected. Our ears are connected with our mouth, and let's see what they have to say to each other. So they're saying yes and no all the time, just like we did. And as you know, you can see a yes as a 1 and a no as a 0. In fact, what you can do with these lyres is to switch zeros and ones, just like in a computer. So if you make networks like this, you can make a sort of brain. And that's what's happening right now. We are now in the period that the Strandbeest are developing a brain. So they have senses like the hardness of the sand is an indicator where they are on the beach, because near the sea, the sand is harder. So by feeling the sand, they have a sort of sand feeler, they're a navigator, you could say, and they have water feelers, wind feelers, and all this outer information comes into a brain, and the brain takes a decision on that information. It's not that far yet. I still have to nurse these animals all the time. So, but I will take the next 20 years to make them more independent and make a sort of migration animals along the Dutch coast. That's the idea. Now, I would like to show the water feeler. This is the water feeler. Now this tube here is vital for surviving. It goes over the ground about this height, and it sucks in air all the time. And as soon as it arrives into the sea, it swallows the water and feels the resistance of the water, and then the animal has to do something. It has to turn around and use a sort of ski poles to run out of the sea, and that can be demonstrated in the exploratorium. Now, I would like to try the water feeler here on stage, but I need a volunteer to hold this thing. Yeah, come on stage, but I would like to put something on over your eyes. Can you put this on? That's great. And we need, and now I would like you to, because I want everybody like to see it. Can you stand here in front of the stage here? Yes? Can you hold it like this? That's great. Okay? Now we need something that, first we need to see, of course. Is there a glass of water somewhere? Or a bottle?
I have a bottle.
May I borrow your bottle?
I have another one if it's more.
Well, this is enough to simulate the sea. So what I'm going to do is I put this tube. Oh, that's better. I mean, are there better bottles in the audience? Anyway, I would like to put this tube into the bottle, and then there should happen something. And what I do is I connect the lyres with it as an indicator of that the water feeler really worked. Let us see. I put the lyres here. Are you okay? Yeah? It's heavy, isn't it? Yeah, it's heavy. Now I'll make it short. So I first have to loosen something. Okay. I have to loosen this. Now it's gonna move in your hands. Are you okay with that? Yeah? And then it starts beating like a sort of heart. And then I come with the sea and I put the tube in the sea, and then we should hear the lyres running. But I'm not sure it's gonna work, because it works only in 50% of the cases. So if you have seen it, you're very lucky. I put it down here, and that's opening the bottles, so it's gonna move. Are you okay? It I think it lost pressure. I pumped it up. I will try to do this later. I just have to ask somebody to pump up the bubbles again. Thank you very much. It's a little bit this climax on the show, right? Can you pump it up to 80? In the meantime, you go sit. I'll call you later. Is that okay? What's your name? Bettina. Hello? Michaela? Thank you so much. Sit down and then I'll call you back. In the meantime, maybe I can ask some of you. Maybe I won't like to ask questions. Maybe you would like to have some questions, and I would like to answer them for you. Is there any question there?
So, if your beasts are out on the sand and sand away from the water is dry, what happens when it rains? Because then all the sand is wet and it will just kind of dry off.
Yeah, the question is, how can this water feeler feel the water if it's raining and it's really disturbing the circumstances? Now this tube, it's not on the ground, but it's about this height of the ground. And unless it rains so much that it's a layer of water on there, then it should run away anyway. So, but it doesn't react on rain. Sometimes there's sand in there, I must say, yeah.
What about, like, because there's the sand feelers?
Yes?
You feel the sand when it's hard, wet, whatever.
Yeah.
So, what happens then?
Yeah, so the sand feeler is at the end of a tail. It's 2 pins, and if it goes down and the pins don't react, the pins go through the soft sand, then it knows it's soft sand. But as soon as it's hard sand, the pins are pushed up because the pins won't penetrate the hard sand. And then either it has to when it walks parallel to the coast and it can navigate a little bit, they have it on a sort of resistors on one side. It can put a tube into the sand so it goes slower and steer a little bit away from the soft sand because they like it most to walk with the wind on the hard sand. And when the wind is parallel to the coast, they can do this for a long time. And I see them as a sort of migration animals over the hard sand. So, for instance, there's a beast in Kijkduin, which is a little village south of Scheveningen, where I live. And the winter southwest, it walks along the coast, and as soon as it arrives in Scheveningen, and it knows it has to be arrived in Scheveningen because there's a step counter on it. So there's a leg connected with a pump, and while walking it pumps air into a soda bottle, and you can imagine that the pressure in that bottle is rising, and as soon as it goes beyond a certain level, the animal knows it has arrived in Scheveningen, then it goes with its ski poles driven by pressed air to the soft sand and waits on the soft sand until the wind has turned 180 degrees. Then, which might take a few weeks, but these animals are incredible patient. They don't care about us, you see. So when the wind has turned 180 degrees, they go with their ski poles back to the hard sand, and then they turn and they catch the wind and they walk back to Kijkduin. So they migrate between Kijkduin and Scheveningen, and you cannot predict when they're going to do that, apart from the wind predictions, of course. Yes?
Are you still using evolutionary simulation to evolve the neural system? And are you still using the Atari computer to do it?
I have to deny both questions because the Atari, I think it still works. I think the on-off switch doesn't work anymore. But I think it still works inside, but I don't use it anymore. And no, I had a serious computer addiction in the 90s, and then I discovered what am I doing, and I want to be out there in the wind and in the rain. And since then, I don't use computers anymore. So I make them just by trial and error. Yes.
You had a mechanism that drives a stake into the ground so it doesn't get blown away.
Yeah.
What takes the stake back out?
Yeah, there are sort of, the stick has a shape of a tube which goes in the ground. On top is something rectangular, and as soon as it's beaten in, and then as soon as it wants to get out, it moves there's a piston connected to that rectangular part, so it turns the tube and it's pulled. That usually works, but I must say it works only a few times, and it's not operational. It's not really working every day, and that's happening with all the things in the Strandbeest. That because people they think that these animals are already living at the Dutch coast. I'm sorry, it's not that far yet. I still have to work on that. Yes?
So how many of the Strandbeest have you already created or like have you made?
The question is, how many Strandbeest did I make? I'm working now on number 39. So in winter, I make the Strandbeest, and then comes spring, and I bring it to the beach. So just a few weeks ago, I brought the animal to the beach, and then during the summer, I do all kinds of experiments. And at the end of the summer, I declare the animal extinct. They're dead. And because I don't like to repair. I just want to make a new animal again, and that happens in October. And the animal goes to the boneyard, and these boneyards, since a few years, they are adopted by exhibitions. So this traveling exhibition here in the United States, which opens at the Exploratorium, has just extinct animals. But we can reanimate the animal by pumping it up with a compressor. And it comes alive for a few moments in the museum. And you could see this as a Jurassic Park experiment. And so the wings come alive, and the tail come alive, and the animal walks with his ski poles in the Exploratorium. So 39, the answer was 39, yeah.
I need to pass a mic here so you guys can hear it. Where are you going, Theo?
There's the lady asking me this.
So how do you actually transport the animals? Because they're too big to put in any car.
Yeah, well, I cut them in big pieces of 2 by 3 meters. And so going to the beach, for instance, I put a piece like that in the trailer behind my car and drive to the beach and put it on the beach. And I have to drive several times, of course. And overseas they go in sea containers because they do not have the right size of a sea container. And and they go by boat to everywhere. Yeah.
There's one right over here.
Yes. Hello.
Hello. How many layers does most of the Strandbeest brains have?
There are, what I did, the animal in the Exploratorium has 9 layers. Every ski pole has one, and there's a very primitive brain existing of 2 layers, and that's regulating the frequency with which the ski poles are activated.
How about passing the mic that way, that hand over there? A ladder audience.
Thank you. When you were doing the evolution process, before you started that, how did you know the overall design? Like how many tubes you would need, what general arrangement they would be in before you found those perfect lengths? How did you know the overall design?
Well, I didn't know. So, in fact, the whole process of my work is that I think I know how it works. And then I go to my studio, and then I meet these tubes, and these tubes, they never want to do what I want to do. So they protest always against my plans. And the first animal I've just recently seen it in Belgium. So it was just made of plastic sellotape joints, and it could only move its legs on its back. It had a very complicated leg system. It was based on a crankshaft in infinity. It was based on mathematics, I must say. And there was this night in 1991 that I couldn't sleep, and then the crankshaft came from infinity to the leg system, and then it turned out that this angle was more or less 90 degrees. And that this fact that I saw this in my dream made it suddenly a very simple leg system. And a few hours the same night I realized I had to write a computer program based on evolution to get the right numbers. So that, in fact, this is the nucleus of my work, and that was based in that night. Now, working with the tubes, you could see that I restrict myself very much in the choice of materials. I don't want to use electronics or metal. When you're doing that, then you cannot really dictate to the material. The material dictates me. So usually at the end of the day, I go home more or less disappointed because my plans didn't succeed. But by the experience with the tubes pushed me another way, you could say. And waking up the next day, I wake up with a new idea, but it's based on the experience with the tubes from the day before. And the path, you could say, is very curly, very capricious, and hard to predict. And in fact, at the end, when it's finished, none of my plans are realized. It are all the plans of the tubes, and the plans of the tubes turn out to be a lot better than my plans, because I'm surprised how beautiful these animals became, which I didn't try to make. It was just done by the tubes. And people praise me for that beauty, but I don't really feel responsible for it. It are the tubes who have their plans. And you have oh, come on. Would you come back on stage? Oh, let's try. We have to do it very fast. We have only 2 bottles because one was leaking. Thank you so much, Mike. Yes, you put that on. You're gonna do the show again. I hope it will. Oh my God, I hope this will work. Yes, I'm gonna connect it. You hold it here, right? So the sea is still standing there, and the lyres are hanging there. So we're going slowly in this direction. Yeah, one more step. Okay. I'm going to turn it on again. Let's loosen the pistons a little bit. Okay. Are you ready? Let me do the right one. Yes. Okay. Now we're going to see if it's going to react to water. Yes, it reacts to water.
Thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts at Maker Faire too. We really appreciate from our long partners in making the Exploratorium. I think the Bay Area loves you. Marina has a couple words, maybe about what's happening at the Exploratorium with your work.
Well, just to remind you again that on July 7th, the BYO base, which is, again, that Theo, you shared the ratio of the legs with others, so other people can make their own creations based on your work. So it is part of this idea of reproduction. So we're encouraging you to try to make your own creatures and bring them to Exploratoriums. After Dark, July 7th, adult only.
Okay. Thank you very much.